Hello, and what is going on today, guys? Tomcat here, and welcome back to another episode of Forza Horizon 3. Now, in this episode, we're going to be doing a drift build of the Ford Woody. Now, this thing, we swapped a 5.8-liter V8, so swapped 5.8-liter supercharged V8, and we took the supercharger off, stuck twin turbos on the thing. It makes just under 1,000 horsepower. It's about 960 something, I believe. And my goal with this was to have something that was completely offbeat and weird as far as a drift car. But as far as, as far as a drift car goes, offbeat and weird, but effective at the same time. Effective at the same time, and something that I would actually be willing to, use to actually go for score streaks and stuff like that. The score streaks, it sounds like I'm playing Call of Duty, but no. You have the option of that 5.8-liter supercharged V8 or the Viper V10. I was like, 5.8 sounds a little bit better to fit this particular platform than the Viper V10, and you can actually build it a little bit more than the Viper V10. It just depends on what parts you use, and I felt like a V8 kind of better suited this particular platform because I wanted something with a lot of torque. The Viper V10 is a really good engine. It's just not quite as torquey as I wanted on a particular build like this, because with a drift build, at least from my mind, I want to be able to tap the throttle and be able to get wheel spin almost immediately and be able to use it and then ride it out up into the higher RPMs, which is why I picked this particular V8. So I had the low-end torque, then did the cams, so I had the high-end power band, and went with twin turbos, so I had the low-end torque, the high-end power band with the cams, and then the turbos that would come online. Both would come online in a really linear fashion, so it ended up being a really nice setup. And I'll tell you right now, the alignment I used for it isn't really all that complicated. I went with -3 degrees of camber in the front, and I believe -2, -2.5 in the rear. I think it was right about -2, maybe -2, -2.5. I'll show it later on. I was like, not the rally suspension, definitely not. We don't really need that for our purposes here anyway. We want the race suspension. Now, the cage, I was a little bit on the fence about, because when I put the cage in originally, I was like, well, do we really need a cage? Do we not need a cage? And I was like, well, if we're going to do a drift build and we want to make it something sort of offbeat, I feel like a competition-style cage, especially in something like this, is really weird and really different, and that was the objective with this build anyway, especially with the surfboard on the top. Now, I feel like the surfboard would definitely not be Formula D legal, because it would probably have a big chance to fly off into the crowd, but we're not a Mustang, so we don't really have to worry about crowds. Not gonna even go there any further with Mustang jokes. That has been used to no end, honestly. I'm honestly, like, even getting slightly tired of Mustang jokes. They've gone so far, but either way, I think these particular wheels suited it very nicely, and I didn't want to make them any larger. I didn't really want to bring the wheel size up that much, because the smaller wheel size, where you can see a little bit of sidewall, kind of helps that classic look of the vehicle. Now, as if you're doing something a little bit newer, then absolutely go with something super low profile. But as far as, like I said, this particular car, I really wanted to keep that retro feel with a modern power plant and a modern, kind of modern level of effectiveness when it comes to drifting. Now, when I was driving out of the garage, I was like, wait a minute. This is really cool, and it's got a lot of power and all, but I kind of forgot something really important. The tuning. So then I was like, yeah, we may need to stop, open up the tuning menu, and actually see what we can do to this thing before we go any further. And this is where I'll actually be able to confirm those alignment specs with you guys. Left the tire pressure alone. I bumped it up to, now I remember I bumped it up to 343 gears in the rear, which still is not too, it's like, it grips up at the top of third, halfway through fourth, depending on how you're driving it. Then we go to -3 in the front and -1.5 in the back. Make the front sway bar a little bit softer. Well, not really a little bit, a lot softer. And then the front springs a little bit softer, just a little bit softer than the rear, just because of the fact that I wanted that kind of soft in the front, stiff in the rear kind of balance for a suspension, kind of that you use in most drift cars. I feel like it's kind of like a generically accepted drift setup, at least in my opinion it is. I mean, that's how a lot of people actually run their actual drift suspensions, as just kind of a general idea. And I also put a lot of brake balance to the front, not really a lot, but 60% to the front, so I could kind of have a little bit more ability to get the tail out by just braking. So if you trail brake into a corner, you can have the rear out like immediately, not even having to think about it or worry about anything or whatever to do. Just get the rear end of the car out with the brakes. Now, as opposed to a lot of other really high horsepower drift builds, this one is actually very controllable. It's not like something where it's all over the place and, you know, constantly you're having to pay attention to, am I going to be in the bushes, am I going to be in a tree, or am I going to be on the road, but I'm going to have to fight for it. This you don't have to fight with. This is very linear, very smooth. You don't have to fight with the line. You just e-brake, you power down, and you go. It's a very easy, smooth car to drift in this setup. I really like it, actually, for that particular reason. There's no arguing with the chassis. There's no arguing with the suspension. And the surfboard on top just looks damn cool, in my opinion. I mean, you can't really get any more cool than a near 1,000 horsepower twin-turbo Ford Woody with a surfboard on the top of it. I mean, especially in drift spec, when you go back into the garage and you can really see that camber on the front and then kind of the squared off stance in the rear, it looks mean. It actually does look really, really mean, depending on, I guess, what kind of vehicles you consider to look mean. But now, later on today, we're going to be doing a off-road build, and we're going to be doing we're going to be doing one off-road build, and we're going to be doing one other build that's a little bit, I don't know, it's a little bit weird, it's a little bit different, but I hope you guys will like it. And also, my mic is now fixed. I basically, what happened was, yesterday, I had horrible peaking on my mic, and it was just, the audio was just terrible in the multiplayer videos. I enjoyed doing the videos, and then I was really mad by the end of it, because I was like, holy crap, the damn audio is screwed because my mic is just peaking like crazy. But the thing is, everybody else went to bed, and I didn't have time to re-record the videos, so I was like, that's why I put in the first video of yesterday, I was like, look, I'm really sorry, but the mics are way too loud. So, or at least my mic was way too loud, and it was really peaky and stuttery and just like not at all pretty to listen to or enjoyable at all from my perspective. Maybe I'm being a little bit harsh, but now I hope that you guys really can see the difference. What happened was the mic, it got unplugged and plugged back in, and without realizing it, it defaulted to basically max recording volume all the time, even though I had all the settings on the microphone itself, like on the external side of the microphone. Gain was all the way down, volume was all the way down, and it was still peaking really bad, and it was down to the settings on Windows, like down into the settings on my computer for the receiving volume to be insanely boosted. And you don't want to boost one of these mics. Like a Blue Yeti, if you boost a Blue Yeti too much, it will peak so bad that it'll make you sound like crap. So hopefully we've got everything with that figured out. We've got more multiplayer on the way, some more single-player videos later today, and then I've got more spin tires lined up for later in the week as well. So don't forget to tune in every day as usual, and I will see you guys in the next one. Talk to you guys later. Hope you guys enjoyed the video.